Search and rescue teams in the Cascades are meticulous about their equipment. Every rope tagged, every litter numbered, every carabiner logged in and out of the equipment room before and after every deployment. The inventory exists because equipment failures cost lives, and the only way to prevent equipment failures is to know exactly where every piece is at every moment, which is why it matters when a team arrives at a rescue site and finds their equipment already there. In 2005, a SAR team found one of their own litters positioned at a search location before they had deployed it. The equipment tag showed the previous day's date. The litter had been in storage that morning. In 2011, a team leader found a rope system rigged at a cliff rescue site before her team arrived. The rope bore her personal equipment marker. Her rope was on her harness. Both were real. Both were hers. In 2016, it was happening across multiple teams. Equipment appearing at rescue sites before deployment. Dated yesterday, last week, last month. All verified in storage at the time of departure. All missing from inventory upon return. The SAR director ordered all pre-positioned equipment confiscated and destroyed. The memo described it as an operational risk. This is about rescue equipment that arrives before the rescuers, set up by teams who haven't gotten there yet, and what it means that it works. October 3, 2005. SAR Team Bravo 3 deployed from the Okanagan-Wenatchee National Forest staging area at 0715 hours. Lost hiker, northern sector, last known position near the ridgeline above Coldwater Creek. The hiker had been missing since the previous afternoon. Standard search parameters. Team leader Galen Mwangi led 5 members into the search area. The morning was cold. October in the Cascades has a particular quality to its silence. The way the air holds still between gusts. The way sound travels differently when the leaves are down and the undergrowth has thinned. Mwangi had worked this terrain for 8 seasons and knew its moods. That morning, it felt attentive in a way he could not articulate and did not try to. They reached the ridgeline search area at 0940 hours. Team member Liesl Okafor found the litter first. It was positioned in a small clearing 20 yards off the main trail, oriented correctly for the terrain, anchored at the upslope end, rigged for extraction down the fall line. Properly deployed, the kind of setup that takes time and training to do correctly. Okafor called Mwangi over without touching it. Mwangi crouched beside it and read the equipment tag attached to the frame. Team designation, BRAVO3. His team, equipment number, L7. He knew L7. It lived on the second shelf of the equipment room, third from the left. He had checked it himself that morning during the pre-deployment inventory. Date on tag, October 2, 2005. Yesterday. Mwangi stood up and looked at the litter for a long moment. Then he radioed base, asked the duty officer to go to the equipment room and check the status of litter L7. The duty officer came back 2 minutes later. L7 was not on the shelf. The hook it hung on was empty. Mwangi had logged it in that morning. It had been there at 0630 hours. It was not there now. And it was here, in a clearing on a ridgeline, deployed for an extraction that hadn't started yet. They found the hiker 40 minutes later, 120 yards from the litter. Hypothermic, but conscious. They used the litter for the extraction. It worked correctly. Back at base, Mwangi filed an incident report. Noted the equipment tag, the date discrepancy, the pre-deployment inventory confirmation. He returned the litter to its hook in the equipment room and stood in the doorway for a while, looking at it. The duty officer noted in the logbook that L7 had been missing from 0700 to 1430 hours, with no deployment authorization on record. No explanation was filed. The incident report went into the district archive. Mwangi told his team not to discuss it. He was not the last team leader to say that. June 14, 2011, SAR Team Delta 6 responded to a missing climber report on the eastern face of Glacier Peak. The climber had been overdue since the previous evening. Last known position, a technical route on the upper eastern face requiring rope work for the approach. Team leader Nadia Ferreira led DELTA 6. 6 members. Ferreira was experienced with technical mountain rescue. She had been rigging rope systems in the Cascades for 11 years and had her own way of doing things. Her personal rope was marked with 3 wraps of blue tape at the midpoint, and her initials burned into the sheath at both ends. Standard practice among technical rescuers. You know your rope. They reached the base of the technical section at 11:20 hours. The route narrowed here, funneling into a series of ledges above a talus field. Ferreira began assessing anchor points for the rope system she would need to rig. The system was already rigged. She stood at the base of the route and looked at it. Fixed anchors at 2 points above her. A rope running through both, properly tensioned, the midpoint marked with 3 wraps of blue tape. Her initials burned into the sheath at the visible end. Ferreira did not move for a moment. Then she reached to her harness and unclipped her rope, held both ends together. Same tape pattern, same initials, same wear pattern on the sheath at the midpoint. Team member Dio Achebe stood beside her, looked at both ropes, said nothing. Ferreira clipped her rope back to her harness. The rigged system was intact, properly set up, ready to use. She ran her hands along it. No damage. Correct tension. The anchors were solid. They used it, ascended the technical section, found the climber on the 3rd ledge, injured but stable. Hypothermia. Suspected ankle fracture. They rigged the descent using Ferreira's rope from her harness, as she had planned to do, and extracted the climber to the base. At the base, Ferreira looked at the pre-rigged system. Still in place, she began breaking it down. When she reached the upper anchor, she pulled the rope through. 3 wraps of blue tape at the midpoint, her initials at both ends. She coiled it and packed it with her other rope and carried both back to the staging area. At the staging area, she inventoried her pack. 1 rope with her markings. She went to the equipment room. Checked the rope inventory. Her personal rope was logged in from that morning. The hook was empty. She stood in the equipment room with a rope in each hand and understood that she was holding the same rope twice. She filed an incident report that evening. Described the pre-rigged system, the matching markings, the 2 ropes at the staging area that were indistinguishably the same. She noted that the climber had been found and extracted successfully. She noted that she did not know what to do with the 2nd rope. District Supervisor Tomas Brennan reviewed the report. He took the 2nd rope, logged it as confiscated evidence, filed the incident alongside Wang Yi's 2005 report under a notation that had begun accumulating in the district archive. Prepositioned equipment. Origin unknown. Victim outcome. Successful. Ferreira asked Brennan what he was going to do with the rope. He told her it would be destroyed. Standard procedure for equipment with unverified chain of custody. She asked him what the standard procedure was for equipment with an impossible chain of custody. He did not answer. By 2016, the prepositioned equipment reports had accumulated across 7 teams and 11 years. Not every mission, not even most missions, but consistently enough that SAR Director Vera Johansson had stopped treating each report as an isolated incident and started looking at the pattern. The pattern was this. Equipment appeared at rescue sites before the teams that owned it arrived. The equipment bore the owning team's markings and current issue dates. The equipment had been in storage at the time of team departure, confirmed by pre-mission inventory. After the mission, the same equipment was missing from storage. The pre-positioned items, when brought back to base, were physically identical to the missing storage items in every measurable way. In every documented case where the pre-positioned equipment had been used, the rescue had succeeded. In the 2 documented cases where teams had declined to use the pre-positioned equipment, following it with alternate rigging out of unease, both rescues had also succeeded, but with significantly longer extraction times. Johansson sat with the 11 incident reports spread across her desk and thought about what they implied for a long time before she wrote her response. Her memo, issued March 2016, was distributed to all regional SAR teams. The relevant section read, "Equipment manifesting at rescue sites prior to team arrival poses unacceptable operational risk regardless of apparent functionality. Personnel cannot verify the integrity of equipment whose chain of custody includes unexplained temporal displacement. Use of such equipment creates liability, establishes precedent, and may contribute to the conditions that produce the phenomenon." That last phrase, "may contribute to the conditions that produce the phenomenon," was the only acknowledgement in any official document that using the equipment might be part of why the equipment kept appearing. She ordered all pre-positioned equipment confiscated upon team return and destroyed within 24 hours. She ordered pre-mission and post-mission inventory to be conducted by 2 independent team members and filed with the district office before and after every deployment. She did not order teams to stop using the equipment when they found it at rescue sites. She knew better than to make an order she could not enforce. Rescuers in the field with an injured victim and a rope system already rigged were going to use the rope system. What she ordered was the accounting. Every piece. Every time. The inventories told the story she had already understood. Equipment left the storage room during deployments for which it had not been authorized. Equipment returned to base from deployments where it had been used but not packed. The numbers did not balance, and they never would. She required 2 senior team leaders to review the accumulated inventory discrepancies with her in September 2016. Mwangi, now a district coordinator, was one of them. He sat across the desk from her and looked at 11 years of equipment logs and said what anyone who had been carrying this would eventually say. He said, "It saves them. Every time it appears, it saves them." Johansson said, "I know. She destroyed every piece of confiscated equipment anyway." Current SR operational protocol for pre-positioned equipment. If SAR personnel discover equipment bearing their team designation at a rescue location prior to deployment of that equipment, do not use the equipment. Secure the area, photograph the equipment in place, and extract the victim via alternate methods. Report the discovery as a pre-positioned equipment incident upon return to base. All pre-positioned equipment will be confiscated and destroyed within 24 hours. Pre-mission equipment inventory will be conducted and filed before every deployment. Post-mission inventory will be filed within 2 hours of return to base. Discrepancies will be reported to the district director. Personnel are not authorized to use pre-positioned equipment regardless of victim condition or equipment functionality. SAR teams still find their own equipment at rescue sites before they deploy it. Ropes rigged before they arrive. Litters positioned before deployment. Anchors set in rock faces they haven't yet climbed. Equipment tagged with their designations. Dated yesterday. Bearing their personal markings. Yesterday it was in storage. They checked it themselves. The protocol says don't use it. Find another way. Extract the victim without touching the equipment that arrived before you. Teams try. They bring their own ropes and rig their own systems and pretend the pre-positioned equipment isn't there. But it's there. Set up correctly. Rigged for the exact terrain. Already prepared for the rescue that hasn't started yet. Mwangi said it plainly 11 years after he found a litter on a ridgeline with yesterday's date. It saves them. Every time it appears, it saves them. Johansson destroyed every piece of it anyway, because equipment that travels backwards through time to arrive before its owners is not equipment anymore. It's something else. Something that knows where the victims will be. Something that knows what the teams will need. Something that gets there first. And when the teams come home and the inventory doesn't balance, and another piece goes into the destruction log, the question nobody files in an official report is the only one that matters. If the equipment travels back to be there when it's needed, then somewhere, in a version of tomorrow that already happened, a team used it and came back without it.